Good morning, everyone.
Everyone's
Okay.
muted now.
Recording.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and get this thing rolling. All right, today's your show. Why don't you go ahead and get it started?
Yes, so it's gonna be our first HR meeting in 2020, and then today is Thursday, so we're going to be discussion for Thursday. I'm going to be going to be the order. Okay. So let's start on the Thursday discussion. Okay, so it is still about inflation over. So shall we
Hello?
yes.
Okay.
So maybe about the turnover, Mr. Secretary, would you please put that on the library side?
Yeah, that should be put over on the library website. Okay.
And also the turnover revisited.
Yes.
Okay, go to the next old business. It's about the promotion review. I have a question though about this one. I know that it's supposed to be under new business too, but okay, maybe this later. Okay, about the promotion review, Rian, what is that exactly Rian going to have promotion?
Huh? Can I hear you? Anna, can you repeat? You were freezing before.
Okay, so about the next old business is about promotion review. I was just asking, when is Rian's promotion reviews going to be administered?
Okay. So basically, Ryan's promotion review he proposed yesterday actually, but then got postponed supposedly to today. But then also learning from Dom's promotion review, Jinping that people who are about to apply for promotion review needs to be coached first, at least on like how they collect the evidences and everything. So then today after this after this sync up, me, Jing, and Alvin will, and also Rian will have the coaching session about the promotion review preparation. So he's
Mhm.
proposing on Saturday.
Okay. Okay then, and then my update on what about Rizky?
Yeah, the update is because the last time he said that he needs to at least make the first SLA for finance first, and now the SLA is done. So he's actually now in a phase of actually preparing for the promotion review.
Okay, so for Debra, I haven't had any update yet from her. Most likely, She's going to postpone that because we're going to focusing on Gani's promotion review. Right? Gani is going to be administered this early January, right?
Gani.
Mhm. Do you know?
Yeah, he was actually saying before going back to Jogja while he's here.
Shall we put Gani's? Okay, thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Who's looking after guys' promotion reviews, by the way? All right.
What, sir?
Who will be looking after guys' promotion reviews?
For his last promotion review, it was me.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, then go to the next one. It's about next. Okay. Employee giveaway and best practice about the Grateful Day. Shall we put it on library too, or
Same
what?
project.
Ini taruh di mana ya? Ini like it's supposed to be not in the section, right?
Project maybe on the column just next to it on the right side.
Okay, so yeah, Mr. Secretary, would you please move all of that, including the rolling envelope and best practice on Grateful Day, to the project table next to the old business table. Yes. Okay, and then the next one. Okay, let's go to the new business now. So, I'm not sure who put Lintang. It's Vita, yeah.
Yeah. So I saw that before because Jing also put on Arya dropping out, right? So for Arya is the case is he got another job. For Lintang, she's also dropping off because of the salary.
But the question is that I heard that there is possibility Lintang is going to be placed in Jogja, right?
Yeah. So I already discussed that to her as well. If she wants to be actually so my initial plan was actually for her to be here in Bali first, right? For let's say for a few months, and then while she is also training with Dominic about Jogja, so can be handed over. But I already explained to her about the offer, and then he seemed to be okay. Actually, she was actually really excited to be offered the contract. But also she said that I need to discuss with my parents first because the other day my parents already asking like how much is going to be like the payment, the payroll and everything. And then I believe like after I announced it to her, she went back to Japara to home, and then she had a talk with her parents, and I believe like her parents doesn't let her go with the payroll or the package. That
But
was still the package that I explained to her first was actually the package for full hire, not temp.
mm, but like the question is her preferred location is Bali or Jogja in the beginning?
In the beginning, she wanted to be in Bali, but then her parents kind of like question like why is it too far and everything. So she asked me like if she could be in Jogja, and I said yeah if you want. Like after a few months here, you can go to Jogja.
Hmm.
But again, like I mean, it's her reason was not because of Bali or Jogja, but her reason like if Mrs. Secretary can open the screenshot that I attached, yeah, that one. So her reason is about living costs.
Mhm.
And she can also feel like really not a fit in a way that about the workloads. But I mean, it's not really like a loss as well because she's not like the best as well.
Okay, so maybe about this one, from do you have any other things, sir, to discuss?
Does this go into explain employee experience or in leadership? You think?
Mm, think to leadership.
Yeah. Okay.
But I
Here's.
was actually thinking
Go ahead.
more into hiring, but hiring we will discuss on Saturday, so I just put it there.
Okay. All right. Let's go and analyze this, guys. Why do you think and what? Okay. The first question, whenever is this failure in your eyes? Having candidates come in to do on-site trials and not pass.
For Lintang?
Let's go over the detail.
For me, actually, no, because at the same time, the purpose of the on-site trials is for both of the parties, which is the candidate and the company, to assess each other's right. So, I mean, why can we just decide like, no, we're not going to onboard them, but they also have the same right as well the right saying as well to assess us, right? Whether or not they like the offer, they like um, the working cultures, the working environment. So it's kind of both sides.
Okay. Let's go over all right. Do you believe it's a failure if a candidate comes for on-site trials and doesn't pass?
Um, for me, for the reasons of living cost itself, I don't think that it's sense in the terms that I think people knows that living costs in Bali are expensive and everything. But I have questions. So this person is already offered the contract, yeah?
The contract hasn't been sent to her, so I had a call with her when I announced her that um
So
that
it's the same. I mean, Arya is also haven't sent the contracts, but he also dropped out right after I said that you're accepted. So I'm not sure. This one, since she said it's about living costs and about first, I think living costs doesn't make any sense because people know that Bali is expensive and everything, especially comparing to Jepara. Second of all, I noticed that she mentioned about the motivations and everything. It's lack of confidence, which is I think for that particular things we can detect that on interview about confidence itself.
about what?
Confidence.
Hmm,
Because she said that I'm afraid that I will demotivated in the work and will be giving some loss to the company.
that's actually based on the feedbacks. Yeah, it could be actually. But I think she was actually thinking about that because after of the feedbacks that we gave, the people who had a meeting with her, like the trainers, and then when I called her, it's kind of like because we are offering her a stamp as well, right? So I kind of like tell her that we offer you, but we get some feedbacks for you, and these are the feedbacks. So I think that's what kind of made her motivated as well. But I do agree that this should be like can be detected from the
So also then I have a question about that. For the feedback, did you give it in the last day of on-site trials or via WhatsApp or how do you usually do it?
no, the feedback is like 2 days after the onset trials. After I get collected feedback from all the pairing trainer.
So you're like accumulated every feedback and then deliver to the candidate.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go back to the focus here. Is this failure if we have on-site trials with candidates that don't pass?
What's that? The
Would you consider it failure if we have on-site trials with candidates that don't pass?
actually it's not for me. It doesn't really 100% considered as what is it as a failure because yeah, it's what I agree with Vita because on-site trials, what interview is about us assessing them, right? But on-site trials is about we both assessing each other. So, but I think the failure is that does it really take 6 days for candidates to assess us? Because like for me myself, for example, if I'm applying to Bukit Vista and I got the chance to on-site trials, I think I could assess it within 3 days or 2 days.
Okay.
So the failure for me is that why it has to be wait until 6 days and then you drop out. Why didn't you drop out in the early on-site trials?
That's right. Okay. All right. Here's my thoughts, guys. Yes, Vita is right. On-site trials is an opportunity for people to check out whether or not this is a good fit. And Ara has mentioned, yes, the question is why. So fundamentally, uh, when somebody drops out, I think we always have to question whether or not, what are the facts, right? Whatever a candidate says is the reason that they drop out, generally is not the reason that they drop out. Generally, what people say is something that is politically correct, right? They will never say things like, during the trial, I sat in the room for an hour while waiting for my evaluator to show up. And because I could see there was a lack of commitment on that side, I didn't feel very comfortable with that being the case, right? Or I showed up before everyone else did during the trial, so I was wondering what was going on there. Or, I was ignored during. So we never hear the negative feedback or some of the real reasons why, let's say, a candidate might drop out, no matter how negative or unflattering it might be. So we only know a few facts. We only know that a candidate has dropped out, and then we only know what timing they dropped out. Did they finish the trial? Did they receive the offer? Did they consider it afterwards, right? So I would say this in terms of seeing it as whether it's failure or not, consider the amount of time that you are, as in HR, placing upon your teams to do on-site trials. It is quite a bit of time that the rest of the chapters have to invest, and also it raises their hopes up to a person coming in. So, in terms of what HR can do, is to select wisely. Really take a look and see, does a person actually have the correct motivation? Do they have the correct integrity? And most often, do they have the right capacity to do this job? Okay, so I went through this exercise yesterday with Ara regarding Arya, and even looking at, let's say, a CV and looking at a few cases, let's say in the past, I've seen this happen twice already, where people of, let's say, questionable capacity are being invited on site for trials. Um, let's go back to Josh's case. Do we remember Josh's case?
Mhm.
All right. What did Josh do before he was working here?
He was working in Ritz Carlton as doorman.
For how many years was he working at?
4 years.
4 years. So what should we have detected in Josh's case?
He doesn't have the growth mindset.
Probably not a growth mindset. Probably not enough capacity. We've gone through these exercises in CV analysis way long ago at the very beginning. All right. So if we see a person who's doing the same job for a very long time and it's an entry level job, then that person probably has not shown a growth mindset or capacity. Correct? And if we look at, let's say, Josh's case on his performance, did he resign because of salary? Did he resign because of whatever? Fundamentally, Josh felt like the job was too big for him. He couldn't. He said it was way too difficult and such. And outwardly, he said salary was okay to me, but inwardly, he felt like he couldn't do the job. So there's a capacity conflict there. Okay. All right. Let's take Arya's case. Arya's case I discussed with Arya yesterday. Ara, please tell us about Arya's case.
Okay, so in the case of Arya, it's basically okay. My considerations in the very beginning on why do I keep on processing this person is that I know that the university that he went through is not the best university, and his education background is ya pokoknya meh lah, not so good. And then yesterday Jing told me about assessing capacity based on CV is that not just the education background but the achievement that they have. So in that case, in Arya cases, it is true that he doesn't have any achievement. He's just like involved in one organizational things community back in college and also an internships experience. So, but of course, my considerations is I just remembered because finance is very urgent, right? And so I decided just okay, let's give it a shot. I know that maybe he might not have capacity. In the first interview that I noticed is that he just not highly creative or have a good initiative. But then also okay lah, let's just pass it on to Rizky and you, yeah. I forgot you or Wayana. And then I'll pass, and then go to the on-site trials. And the on-site trials, it's actually more visible to me and Rizky that he doesn't have a good initiative. And then also that, and then after that, what else? Yeah. Oh, we detect that he also a couple of times tell Rizky that he wants to actually work in a big company like Alila or any other things like that. So in that case, I detect that he probably not sure on what he wants to do in life as a worker or what job that suits him. But okay, and then by the end, they also trials. I heard Jing also already had discussion with Rizky about passing her or not, and then Jing advised to give time higher. So do I. I was like, okay, just give him time. I think because like it's very urgent. Meanwhile, kita get another candidates Alvin Chandra that is coming out on early of January anyway. And then I invited Arya, just notify him that you got accepted here, and then right at the moment he actually sent a text that is I already attached on the paper, the guild paper. He said that basically I'm sorry that I can accept the whatever because I got accepted in another job. So Mr. Secretary, maybe would you please open the what's it, the guild and this the screenshot of the WhatsApp. let so that Vita will know. Okay, so yeah, basically saying that he got accepted to another company and everything. So I asked about exactly the same like Vita follow-up question. If I may ask, what are the feedbacks or why? Yeah, what are the feedbacks for us during the trials or the entire process? And then he said that it's about how the SOP is not clear, the rules are not clear, and then so it's I detect it's a lack of what is it in self-learner. So he's not actually a person that is self-learner, which is I actually already detect that on when on-site trials is still happening. That's why I told Rizky he doesn't have a good initiative. That's one thing. But then what makes us decided to pass him to temp hire is because we believe that's a part of culture. So initiative can actually what is it be ditularkan, what's ditularkan? Can be contagious to new candidates that if they see the culture in Bukit Vista is actually proactive and everything, we hope that he's going to be proactive later on because it's just needed training. So that yesterday, after both packs being sent to me, I discussed with Jay about this candidate, and then yeah, we kind of detect and we can get back in the very beginning from assessing the CV itself. It's more of like capacity. Yeah, maybe sir, can you open the CV again?
Oh, all right. What should I open?
Yes, area CV.
Audience TV. Okay, it's open.
Okay, so you see Vita that is his background is program studi pendidikan Ganesha, which is we both are not really sure if that's a good university, not even top 10. And then the experience that have the only what is it? Yeah, that accounting training and organizational things. That is the case. And the things that I also detect apa ya ini di the keahlian lainnya, the skill set that he got is actually related to creative industry rather than accounting. But I actually remember I asked that to him. You love photography and videography, social media, and design graphics. Then why didn't you actually consider to work as a on time or whatever? And he said that because my educational background is in accounting and I still want to apply that on my work and everything, it's just a hobby to have photography and videography. So yeah, pretty much the conclusion so far is that this person doesn't have that much capacity, which actually can be detected from CV, and also not proactive, not initiative, and most likely why he dropped out is because the capacity and the self learner, lack of self learner.
All right,
Yes.
let's go over to Vita. Vita, what do you think?
Hmm, I think that it's also kind of like because the consideration was also because we need finance, right? And um, I think we kind of like need also to adjust our kind of like bar of expectations because I remember like even we also had this discussion that what if we just like find people do as a runner for hosts for example and things like that. So I think like we need to kind of adjust this bar of expectation whether or not these people we expect them to stay longer or not. So I think if we are actually thinking that this is an urgent position and then we kind of like need someone as temp, right? We offer area as temp as well. So it was kind of like still like how is temp? I mean, the situation that makes me even more um, kind of still questioning is just that they turned down on us, you know? Like it's not us who turned down on them, but they turned down on us.
Which brings me to this point. Should we have rejected people way before they even came here? That's the question. So, once again, it's about focus, right? Currently, where do most of our successful hires come from right now? Like there's one point where we have a lot of success right now.
People that come here that what is it? That is a calling, sir. I think.
You have to find people with a calling. If you go around and it's a matter of time. Think about it this way, right? Why do so many candidates not follow up on the phone call or after the first contact? The biggest drop-off point is between when we say come off for an interview and waiting for them to show up for an interview, right?
To wait for them what?
The biggest drop-off point in the hiring funnel, if I'm correct, is between when a candidate applies and their first interview. Is that correct? Or when we send an invitation and when they actually apply,
I see.
right?
Yeah, I think so. Because like, but you know, the other theory that you have is that maybe it's on junk. Our email is on junk at first, and second of all, I forgot. Wait, but you mentioned something about why they're applying for longer, but it's might be on the junk, and I forgot something.
Okay. Whatever reason it might be, look at it this way. In some ways, I agree with Vita. A person who drops out, let's say, before they even are hired, is probably a good dropout. It's better than if they were staying for about 3 months and they received a lot of training and then realize that this isn't the right place, right? So fundamentally, I think this is where the next evolution of HR typically happens. You start looking upstream. You start looking like, all right, am I inviting the right people to actually be at this company at this phase? And so it goes back up to the whole pattern of risk again. Is there a startup fit? Is there a company stage risk? Is there a role risk? Is there an industry risk? Is there a location risk? There's all these factors we have to consider, right? And so I did this exercise with Aria yesterday regarding Aria. The easiest way to find out if somebody perhaps would have a fit is just to go on LinkedIn and search for people who already have fit at equivalent startups, let's say, right? So let me just bring everybody through a quick exercise on what I would do to look for a candidate that could perhaps be successful in finance at Bukit Vista. Okay? So the very first question we gotta ask is, are they a startup fit? Because if you're at a big company and let's say you're Aria's case and you're doing finance, you are probably just expected to implement PCI your entire life. You're not expected to do any projects. You're not even allowed to do many projects on your own. You will sit down, you'll follow SOPs, and you'll basically mechanically run through the accounting. And that's all big organizations really want, right? So that we have to actually get out of the way. Do we want to look for candidates that are in that particular category? Yes or no? Oh, right? Obvious. So then let's go ahead and take a look and see how we would discover. Can I share this exercise with everyone?
Yeah.
I think it's actually pretty. It's a trick and it's a shortcut, and it will save us a lot of time in terms of screening and such. So what I did with Ari yesterday was simply you go on LinkedIn. Okay, you all have access to my LinkedIn. You know that gives you some branching out and stuff, right? So you go on LinkedIn and you simply search for, let's say, think of a startup. Think of like Traveloka or Bukalapak or whatever or Gojek, right? Those are the kind of fits that we want. People who want to work in startups that are growing, companies that are growing. So let's say, for example, you look for Traveloka accountant. And what we're looking for is this. We know somebody, let's say at Traveloka working with their finance, probably can actually succeed here, right? There's a very good chance they can succeed here. So then we just take a look and we open up their profiles. And the question is, what did it look like before they worked at Traveloka? What were sort of the stages in their career? Where did they go to school? What was their experience? And what was like the pathway that got them there? So once we open that up, okay. And then maybe just for a little bit more diversity, we can also look for Gojek, accountant. And we open up a few of these, yeah? Okay, all right. So let's take a look and see what we find. Okay, this is Devi. Devi Teja, yeah? So Devi has worked at Traveloka, and let's see what her tenure is. She went to Universitas Taru Managara. I don't know where that is, but apparently that's good enough for Traveloka, okay? She's worked at Traveloka for 1.1 year and 7 months. She was the vice head of accounting at Prodigy Consulting for 3 years, and before that, she was a senior associate at PT Prodigy Consulting. So she worked in a consulting firm in finance for almost 7 years before.
No, this is the
Am I
same
right?
amount of time, sir. The senior associate. And
Oh,
vice
very good, very good. So she was in 2 roles at the same
Mm.
company. So what was she actually? Question, yeah. Senior associate and vice head of accounting at 2 different companies. No, wait,
The same.
same company. Weird. Or maybe she didn't structure her thing right? It was a promotion and
Maybe yeah.
didn't put the end and start date there. Okay, but we do know something. We know that, okay, this university seems to produce quality accountants that work at Traveloka. Let's see if there's a pattern here. Next one, Indrayani. Okay, Indrayani works at Traveloka as a senior accountant. She's been there for 6 years. That's almost since the beginning then. Let's see, she went from accounting and tax to a senior accountant. She worked as a tax consultant at CV Karisma Utama. And she went to Venus. Okay, all right, so for 4 years, and she got a bachelor's degree from computerized accounting. Okay, let's look at the next person. This is Hara. Hara is a accountant in Traveloka. She also worked at PT Prodigy Consulting. Yeah. As a senior associate and as a junior associate, she went to the University of Real. Very interesting. Okay, here's another one. Hujanto. Hujanto worked as he's a senior accountant in Traveloka, 1 year and 8 months. Before that, he was a senior auditor at KPMG. Before that, senior auditor at Crowe and Horwath and STEEI. Yeah. Before that, with a 4-year degree in Bachelor's of Accounting. This is Dinda. Dinda's a consolidation accountant. Worked as an accountant consultant at PT Fair Consulting Indonesia and PricewaterhouseCoopers. She went to UI and got a Bachelor's of Accounting there.
She worked at PwC.
Yeah, that's a big four accounting, Pricewaterhouse. And this is Audrey. She's an accountant at Gojek. She's also a founder of this other company. So she's kind of like that. That's her side hustle going on. She worked at GoPay before. She was an intern, and then she went to Prasetya Mulia Business School. Okay. And Safira is an accountant, also at Gojek. Did an internship at the Central Bank of Indonesia, and then an internship at Mandiri, and then works as an accountant here at Gojek. But you got to remember something too as well, right? Now, knowing, let's say, the different tenures of people who have worked at Gojek, you have to remember what was Gojek like today is very different from what Gojek was like, let's say, 6 years ago. All right. So Gojek today probably has most of their SOPs and most of their SLAs and all the internal structures set up. So people who I would say have joined Gojek in the last year are probably not at the same company stage fit as people who joined Gojek really early on. And they're probably not coming from the same motivation either. People who join a company early on tend to have motivations of self-discovery, of experience, of growth, of creation. People who join a company when they're really established, like Gojek, tend to have motivations of stability, prestige, and other factors, right? So you got to be able to also select down and eliminate the ones that are not careers, not good company stage growth, right? Okay, and then the last one is Irene. Okay, Irene has been at Gojek full time for 7 months. She's a junior auditor at BDO and at Budgeting IT Project, and she went to Atmajaya, right? Just like who? Who also went to Atmajaya?
Risky.
Risky, yeah.
Yeah.
So There is actually yesterday. Remember the CVs that I sent over to you?
Remember what one?
So yesterday we were doing this, and we found a pattern. We found a green flag. So of I think I sent like 6 of these. Okay. Allergies or
I don't know.
okay, but check this out, right? Um, Atmajaya once, right? Atmajaya twice. So and let's take a look. This person joined Atmajaya, joined Gojek right out of college. So first job, right into Gojek. So that's actually a pretty good career stage and a company stage fit. Fresh graduate, ready to work in a startup, and lasted 2 years and 7 months at Gojek. Good sign, right? Um, 2 years ago, I think Gojek was a much smaller company than they are now, too. As well, they're involved in far less. Here's another person. Joined Gojek 7 months ago, also from Atmajaya. Risky is also from Atmajaya. I would say that's a pretty good green flag. So if you're looking for an accountant and you hire from Atmajaya and you look for that, that could be a good indication that this person has the correct capacity. They can do it. Fresh graduates from Atmajaya can work at Gojek for 2 years and 7 months. Relatively fresh graduates with less than a year of experience in 2 jobs can work at Gojek for 7 months, right? So that's a clue, guys. Ladies, that is a clue that is capacity fit. And if you can see that person has capacity fit, then you don't have so many of these questions about whether or not they can actually do the job. Secondly, is about the whole tier of hiring. What's the very first factor we look for when we hire somebody, Vita?
Integrity.
Integrity. All right, great. And the second one? Let's go to Ara.
For Arya,
Yeah.
capacity.
No, not the second one. The second one, the first one, integrity. The second one's not capacity. The second one,
The self-learner.
no, in the sequence of things that we look for, right? Understanding, experience, integrity. There's another thing that we look for as the number 2 thing.
Wait, it's experience is the last one. Integrity.
Important to remember.
Motivation.
Yes, Vita, correct. It's motivation. So we look for integrity first, we look for motivation, and after that we look for
Capacity.
correct. So let's go into the case of, let's say, Trishna, right? Trishna has integrity. He's able to work remotely without too much supervision. He gets his work done, right? Lots of integrity. How do we know Trishna had integrity? Trishna came to an interview that he was not invited for. Remember? Wait. I think Trishna was hired before, right?
At the same time.
At the same time, Trishna showed up all the way from Karangasam to an interview that was supposed to be an online interview, but he showed up physically present. We told him that that day was not the day of his interview. He would have to come back, and he came back. So a lot of integrity. If I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. Not like flaky about that. So a lot of integrity. Do we have any question about Trishna's motivations? No, a lot of motivation, right? Did Trishna have capacity to do market building when he started? No. But if you have the first 2, then the third one will be there, right? If you have a lot of integrity, if this is what you really want to do, and you're willing to commit fully to it, and you can demonstrate that, then the motivation will follow and the capacity will be created, okay? But if you don't have, let's say, the integrity, if this is not what you really want to do, if you're not really motivated to do this, then if you don't have capacity, then it will be almost impossible for you to do this because it's asking you to do something that you don't really care about and that you don't really want to grow into. Arya's case of saying as feedback of saying the SOPs aren't in place, whatever, is fine if Bukit Vista was a more established company already, right? But we're looking for a Renaissance person. We're looking for somebody who is not a person that, like, we're going to have to tell them what to do. We want to get people that are going to come back and tell us what we should be able to do, right? And so in that particular aspect, not a good fit at the current stage of the company. But if he is super passionate about hospitality, if he is super passionate about startups and creating his own thing, then it would not be a problem, right? Okay, so then the question is, can you detect integrity? Can you detect motivation before a candidate arrives on site to do on-site trials?
For motivation, yes. For integrity, I am not sure. I mean, like,
Yes,
not
I would agree. Sorry. I didn't give Vita a chance to actually say it. Sorry, that's Vita. Pretend I didn't say anything. What do you think, Vita? Is it possible to understand a person's motivation and their integrity before arrival?
I think so. I mean,
Okay.
like with the thing that we do with drilling, right? Like
Mhm.
when people are saying like, yeah, because I'm passionate about hospitality, and then, like we can take a look at the history as well. Like, have you been doing in hospitality? Like, what have you done to actually pursue that if that's your dream? I mean, people will always find a way to find what they're motivated about, right? Like,
Mhm.
though it's not like um, for professional, let's say they don't work for that, but like hospitality is like really like a fluid industry, right? Like even if you are not doing it like professionally, you can still do it like personally. So I think it's kind of like a possibility to check if what they are saying is correct.
Got it. Okay, let's take that idea. So Vita believes that drilling it, understanding the person's underlying motivations, could actually be beneficial to understanding integrity. All right. Do you believe that that is a rigorous method for understanding, let's say, integrity about a person?
for from the interview. I am not sure, sir.
Hmm.
But
Why are you not sure?
I mean, like, integrity is supposed to be reflected by action.
Hmm.
And interview is everything is. I'm not saying artificial, but it's just not just from words, right? So integrity needs to be proven.
Okay. All right. Vita, what do you think about what Ara just said?
I would agree actually. Yeah,
Okay.
like people can craft what's on the interview, but rarely people can be consistent about what they craft.
Definitely.
So I think if we see like a pattern, like if it actually like makes sense, for example, like the pattern. Otherwise, they're really like some psycho that who likes to create things. So I think there is still like chance actually as well.
Okay. Here's what I've noticed actually from looking at multiple interviews. There is really no wrong answer for why do you want to work in hospitality. Am I right?
Yeah.
I mean, what would be the wrong answer? I mean, you can kind of just craft an answer right off the spot. I can say I'm passionate about working in oil and gas, and I can probably in 5 seconds come up with some reasons why I'm passionate about working in oil and gas, or animal husbandry, or forestry, or whatever it might be. And we don't know. Maybe these candidates are saying this across different industries too as well. They're applying for a job at mining, they're applying for a job in hospitality, they're applying for a job in something else. So the easiest way to actually understand the point of that question is to see what actions have you taken. Vita, let's say Vita for example. If Vita said, I'm passionate about leadership, I'll say, great, Vita, can you demonstrate that to me? Can you demonstrate what you've been doing that shows that you have been passionate in leadership? And Vita would say,
I'd say in the past I've been joining like this organization, like creating projects with them, and also applying for higher roles.
yes. And also, previously in your university, how have you actually pursued leadership opportunities?
For me myself, like on my fourth semester, I was applying for an exchange.
Mhm.
So on the fifth semester, I actually went for Kuala Lumpur for a semester of exchange,
Mhm.
where I went there by myself. Like it was my first time actually going abroad and everything. So I think it was really like a life changing experience.
There you go. And Vita, and how many people follow you right now? Who are, would you say, people who are looking towards you for guidance?
I would say some people from my organization back then are still actually in contact with me, asking for what should we do and what this and everything. And also, I still have some friends as well. Not really like look up to, but like like always go to me for just an update or something back in the back in the exchange period as well. I mean, yeah,
Okay,
like
very good. Okay, let's just take a look at what Vita just said there. All right. So she's able to show evidence of leadership timing. She's involved in these different activities, and she's shown achievement too. She tried to do something and she got there. But also, let me also show you where the fallacies are. In this interview with her, I don't know if I'm not, let's say, really skilled at interviewing. I don't know how long she's been doing it because I didn't ask, right? And also, Vita didn't even mention some of her most recent experiences, right? She's leading people to get promoted. She's leading new roles to build culture at Bukit Vista. And she didn't even mention that yet, right? So that's hidden evidence. So in this little interview, I've actually missed out. I've missed out on actual factual things that Vita has done to show leadership because I didn't ask the questions that revealed that. But I've also not really verified like the length of terms of each particular activity that she mentioned. I do know that there was an achievement, and she does think is an achievement, right? To go from, let's say, participating in, this was ISEC, right?
Yeah.
And she didn't even use the word ISEC either, which would give me at least a branding to understand how this relates and how to quantify that level of leadership experience. So here's a person with probably good leadership potential, but even as an HR person, if I'm unable to get that, I have hidden information. I have both passive positive and passive negative information that I'm unable to extract. So during this interview, you can see it's faulty, right? It's not very rigorous to get that information out. The only clear ways of getting information about, let's say, things like your motivation and your integrity is time, right? What have you been working on over a long period of time that has developed into something that you are proud of? And can you show that? You can't fake going to 4 years of college, right? Like, I didn't do anything for 4 years and I just did this. I don't think you can fake 4 years of working at ISEC and developing a progress there. You cannot fake interest in, let's say, technology and not know who are, let's say, technological history or anything about that. So what you're looking for, what you're truly looking for is evidence of timing, of how much time have you actually spent committed to a certain cause and committed to certain achievements. And that is then verifiable. Certain achievements will need to take time. You do not become, let's say, what's the highest position at ISEC? Vice President.
ISEC, President ISEC International.
Right. Okay, and you were president at ISEC, right?
I was the local committee president.
And how long does it usually take to become that?
To
become that local committee president?
It really depends. It could be 1 year, 2 years.
Okay, but is anybody allowed to take that position?
You mean like from the newest?
Now, how competitive is it to reach that position?
Yeah, everyone can apply for that.
How many people are then successfully passed in?
So on my election, actually, there were 4 people applying for, and then only 2 got into like the elections. So.
Oh, and then you were elected by it.
Yeah, by vote.
How many votes were there in total?
So it depends on like the total of the full members member.
Mm-hmm.
So during my election, there were like 48 full members, and then I got voted by 40.
Okay, so we have some facts there now. We have some facts. Vita applied for an election. She was one of the 2 candidates, and she was voted in by 40 plus people. So you can kind of assume that Vita has probably the best leadership skills out of 40 people who are in a leadership team, or in a leadership, the club, or what would you call ISEC?
It's a chapter.
Okay, it's a chapter, right? So that is verifiable. That is an achievement. That is something that we can say is not like just say, oh, I'm passionate about leadership because I just stumbled upon this book yesterday. I read it and I feel really interested in it. No, that takes time. So what you're looking for integrity is evidence of time spent. If there is no time spent, then it's a risk. It doesn't mean that the person cannot do it. It just means that it's more risky. And just accept the fact that you are introducing more risk to the evaluation process. Okay? All right. Let's talk about the.
Guys, you're cracking.
Oh, yeah, the connection is dropping in and out. Okay. Is this helpful for screening CVs in the future? let's go to our. Will this
Sorry.
be more helpful for you to screen CVs in the future?
More helpful. I think when you asked about the profiling, that's actually kind of what is it? Yeah, I think it's pretty essential in the terms that shall we actually have things that okay, let's not to focus on what is best, but shall we focus on detecting what is going to be directly no higher, you know? Like for example, when you said you doubting Udayana graduates, things like that. So but not like that, but not Udayana, but maybe other things that we have like it is valid and solid that it's going to be a red flag. I think we need to have that. What do you think?
Okay. Let's go back to that one too as well, right? Udayana graduates tend not to actually pass any interviews at Bukit Vista, and that has been 100 out of 100. Like every time we go in, we don't see that capacity, we don't see that motivation, and we don't see that integrity either. I don't know why. I don't know how Udayana ranks in terms of national rankings and such, but just every time we've tried it, it just hasn't worked. And if we look then back at, let's say, where do we see Udayana graduates work? It's generally large organizations that are fairly established, low risk, type of
Low chance of being seen.
low chance, low visibility, right? You can just sort of hide in the organization and remain pretty much invisible. Don't forget, there's a lot of people who want that. There's a lot of people who want jobs where they just check in, they're not seen. My worst experience at a job could be somebody's dream job, right? I just want to go into the department, never be seen, and collect a paycheck and get out the door as soon as possible. That is perfectly fine in some organizations. They really don't have very much expectation. But if you did it here, everyone would see that, and it really wouldn't fit either. Okay, Vita, what do you think about what Ara just said about like profiling and understanding, like, let's say, the fit of a candidate?
Mm, I think it's because what we are looking is more into like how do I say like value fit and culture fit. So it's kind of really sometimes it's not really like tangible to be seen just from like the achievements, let's say. So I think it's kind of hard as well to to detect that. And unless, like for example, we can come to the conclusion, or maybe still into the conclusion that Udayana graduates cannot passes also like from experiences, how many people that we've been interviewing and then not pass. So kind of like um, yeah, sir.
Once again, there's no hard and fast rules about people.
Yeah.
People are very surprising, and we don't ever know. It's more about like understanding the risk. Just it's kind of like revenue management. There's no way that we can guarantee that, let's say, a certain villain will perform a certain way, but we can just analyze what the risk is. We can leave a price there. We can raise the price. We can lower the price. So when you bring in candidates, just understand that there is a certain amount of risk, and this is how why I asked if it's a failure or not. Because if we don't think it's a failure, then we will continue doing this and not really analyze the risk of who we're bringing into the company for on-site trials. If we are more aware of it, then we become more like experienced poker players or fashion designers. We know that there's a risk when you launch a label, it might not fly. But at least you know. You've calculated that risk. You know that maybe you're launching something with a very, very extreme design and it might not catch on. And so, but you've made that conscious decision. And that's kind of like what I would want to be the takeaway from today's sync up. That if you are going to bring in somebody, then really understand what the risk is in terms of, yes, culture fit is, let's say, very difficult to determine without having that connection. But you can totally reduce culture fit risk by at least segmenting, right? Are you a big company fit or are you a small company fit? Do you actually aspire to work in a big company like Alila, or do you aspire to actually work in a company that where you have more independence and more? All right, you told me this last time, right? You had some friends that were working at big companies. I think Pizza was here
Yeah.
too at the same time. And what are they saying about their experience in big companies?
Basically, if we based on our sharing times, they said that comparing to myself, we're nothing. We're learning very slow in a big company rather than an agile startup company like yours. So what they learn is basically something that is already what is it, yeah, fixed, something that already solid, that already like a textbook, you know. So like Yoda, it's not something that is what is it, flexible or changing every single time. It's like 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 2 is 4, things like that. But we're in a startup, is always learning to develop or always learning to never settle, things like that, right? So yeah, and that actually somehow going to set their mind on being the type of person. So because it's their first professional, that's why I think it's very important to decide to see their first professional job.
There you go.
I think that's what exactly Arya is looking for.
Yeah, and that's what Arya is looking at.
Open rules.
So
Yeah.
be careful when you determine, let's say, a candidate. That should be the first indicators, right? Do they have a company stage risk? Do they aspire for something that's more fixed, or do they aspire for something that's more flexible? And people who want one and are passionate about one are generally going not to actually like you're trying to reduce the probability of failure on site. So if you can say yes, this person has a good startup fit, yes, this person has a pretty good industry fit, yes, this person has a pretty good role fit, then on-site trials should actually go very successfully because it's what this person aspires to. But if we're bringing in people with lots of risk, then don't be too surprised if they don't fit in the end, either by themselves, which is great, or either by us. Okay, so let that be the takeaway. I know how difficult it is because I know that we are in a rush to hire, right? But this thing I think has to be done carefully still. Otherwise, we just end up it ends up being like a panic cycle. You know, you sort of like, you're dropped by your boyfriend or something, so then you hook up with the next guy, and then that person tends to be, a rebound man is not a great person, and then you keep on going. Sorry, I don't know. Is that relevant in anybody's life right now? But okay, but you know what I'm saying, right? It's like it's better to just say, okay, I'm going to remain single but dignified in the meantime, and then when things are right, which they will be, we gotta have faith, and this is the part where we constantly talk about faith, about like belief in the company. Is our company doing something that is meaningful and impactful to the world? Is this place a place that good people would want to work in? And if you have faith that those two are right, just like if you have faith that you're a beautiful woman and the right guy will show up, then it won't be so much a question of like, oh, okay, I just need to hook up with this person and get this person in. Um, Believe it or not, whenever you do that, there's always a long-term deficit. There's going to be a deficit at the time of promotion because you're going to see that this person doesn't have capacity, and then there's this awkward sort of like, okay, you're here, but you're unable to go on, and so you'll probably need to quit, or you just have to accept that you're plateauing right now, right? Or something else, right? So there is always a trade-off, and sometimes we need to make short-term, let's say, deficits, right? But I mean, keep the faith, keep believing that, let's say, if we have fixed the fundamental problems, if what we're offering is competitive to what somebody else would be able to get in terms of our overall package, not just, let's say, salary alone, if overall you could expect to actually get a job much better working at Bukit Vista than working at, let's say, I don't know, the war room down the street that pays the same, then there should be some reason to actually invest in working here. Okay, I've said my piece. Yes. Oh, actually,
Yes, sir. I do agree on that. But then my question would be, I'm I have no objections on waiting for the right one, right? It's like when things. But wait, we do have SLA, so like Nungli has been screaming every time. What, HR is not SLA compliant and things like that. So in that case, like I am waiting for the right one, but then like how are we going to achieve that?
Actually, can I share my screen?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'll share my screen regarding to our SLA. So the other day I was actually paper here. I was can everyone see? Yeah.
Yeah.
The other day I was actually counting, right? Like for 2019, the people that we hired, they are still staying here. I'm counting on like the time span or the time process from the first day they register on Trello until the first day of the start of
Yes.
the work.
Very good.
So starting from Chandra, that's the first
Yeah.
hire in 2019 until Nopi, the last hire in 2019. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
Wow.
16 people in 2019 that is still staying. Yeah. One fact that good is actually we are actually accelerating in terms of the average time process. So so if we can see right here. Um, okay, so the whole process time for Chandra was actually 111 days from the first day registering on Trello until first day of work. But I think it was because like a lot of re-invitation for Chandra, right?
Mm.
And then also the longest was Shintia in 197 days. And then the shortest was Dominic with um, hmm, like a bit, 12 days for Dominic. And then the rest are actually in the length of days of 30 and 30.
Thank you, Vita.
And the average process times, if we include like Chandra and Shintia, is actually 58, 25 days. But if we did exclude them, it's 39 days. So it's
Excellent.
actually nothing at all quite to the SLA compliance for 2 weeks. So
Okay.
maybe if we would want to repropose the SLA or something, yes, sir.
I really appreciate this, Vita. This is actually great. This is a great core value recognition of don't assume use data. But when we created the SLA, we just created it based on a guess, right? On what would be, let's see, what would be convenient in terms of the persons that we're serving. But we never took a look at actual fact. I think this is good. This is actually really good. This is actually why we set SLAs. We set SLAs at a certain level, and then later we can look, is our expectation wrong or is the reality wrong? And it seems like in this particular case, our expectation is wrong. We've never been able to actually create a 14-day SLA turnaround time. So that type of aspiration is let's say, I think that would be actually an impossible thing to achieve with a new team and going into this. But okay, all right, that's really good to know. If I'm just looking at this, I think the median time is about 30 days. Yeah,
39 days.
39
average,
days.
yeah.
Okay, all right, the median time.
Let's exclude Chandra and Shindia.
Oh, so you took the high ones out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Interesting. Okay.
But one thing that I noticed is actually, if we take a look from here, right, after Shintia, it could be Rian. So after Rian, until now, we managed actually to get all of the time process like faster.
Yes. Okay, that's good. That's accelerating.
So,
how,
yeah.
how much reduction in time have you seen?
I haven't counted on that one,
Okay.
but I can update that.
That would be good to know. That would be our pace of improvement.
Yeah.
Right? So we have a proposal maybe for a new SLA. So the SLA should be, I think, the median time, right?
Yeah.
Because that would indicate, okay, on the median part, generally get people hired within about 60 days, right? 39 days. And then there could be a quarterly improvement cycle. It should be a little bit faster, but yeah, not off balance there. Okay. Cool. That's actually really good to know. and that's really good data too as well. So yeah, I would agree. I would agree that the SLA was not set looking at data in the beginning, and it's a mistake. And now that we look at the data, we can actually understand more thoroughly what it actually can actually be like. All right. That being said, what would help to accelerate, let's say, the time to hire?
Guys, sorry guys. I got an interview in 5 minutes. Can I
Sure.
tell the chairperson to Jim?
Okay. All right. I'll pick up the chair.
Okay. Thank you and have a nice day. Sorry.
Have a nice one.
Sarah, have a good day.
Okay. So let's go off this conference call. What do you think would actually accelerate the time to hire?
Mm, the exposure first, I think.
More visibility.
So, yeah, on like people knowing us, the existence of Bukit Vista, and then
I
like
agree.
yeah.
Okay. So more brand awareness. We probably need to up the branding awareness campaigns. The second thing I think is also understanding timing, because not everybody is always looking for jobs. We need